Video games make great fodder for horror movie inspiration. It's why a bunch of them have been quite badly adapted into movies over the years. While video game movie adaptations clearly haven't figured out how to hit their stride yet, here's hoping that the future will be filled with proper adaptations moving forward. So today we've whipped up a little dream wish list of horror games that we think would be great up on the silver screen, if done correctly. This is our picks for the top 10 horror games that should be movies. And at number 10, Amnesia. Amnesia: The Dark Descent is a survival horror from 2010 that puts you in the shoes of a character with amnesia, named Daniel, inside of a dark and creepy castle. You have to maintain your sanity all while avoiding some of the most terrifying monsters to ever make their way into the horror gaming genre. The sanity factor is a big aspect too. Depending on the state of your sanity, your perspective in the game drastically changes, making it all the more scarier to play. There's visual and auditory hallucinations, and Daniel needs to balance the amount of light he surrounds himself with in order to maintain his sanity and keep the visions and monsters at bay. The film version can be a total psychological thriller full of twists, turns, and horrifying monsters spawned from movie magic to match the aesthetic of the game. And at number 9, Home. Home is an indie horror game that I will defend till the end of time. It's really simple, super effective, and its ending is quite ambiguous and entirely subjective based on what clues you've managed to find in the game. It's pretty open-ended too. So what is Home? Home is a murder mystery adventure in which you wake up in a building that you don't recognize with a busted leg. As you progress through this dark, pixelated world with only a flashlight, it becomes apparent that there's a lot of other factors at work here. Your wife is missing, you stumble upon a murder scene in the forest, and there's something really suspicious going on with your once co-worker. All of this as you were trying to find your way back home. While a film version would end up giving us a definitive ending, a narrative as strong as Home's would be great inspiration for crafting a strong, unsettling, and sophisticated cinematic story. Hopefully not in 8-bit though. That'll surprise me, filmmakers. And at number 8, The Last of Us. The Last of Us can be classified partially as a horror survival game. Personally, I think it's such a great video game that a film adaptation just, couldn't do it justice. Please, leave it as is. But imagine a film or a television series in which one of the threats are clickers. Yeah, that would scare the pants off of anyone. Imagine the beautiful special effects makeup work that would go into making clickers a reality too, That being said, an adaptation of The Last of Us could feel painfully too similar to The Walking Dead if Joel and Ellie's stories weren't written, let alone directed properly. It's a dangerous venture considering it's so darn beloved by fans. And at number 7, Silent Hill. Oh, yeah, that already happened. So, really, if someone tried to reboot Silent Hill as a film franchise, I don't know, maybe they might do it right this time. There's a whole film that exists that is exactly what players of this beloved title don't want to see happen in a film adaptation. It's a whole example of And really, what are the chances that a new Silent Hill film could be as bad as that 2006 one? Knock on wood, I guess. And at number 6, Dead by Daylight. Okay, you're probably thinking, hey, Dead by Daylight is basically riffing off of classic horror movie tropes anyway, and most of its killers are inspired by actual horror icons in cinema. And yeah, that's all true, but hear me out. Make a film that follows the premise of 4 survivors dropped in a horrific looking landscape where a killer, like the trapper in the game, is roaming around trying to sacrifice them on hooks to some creepy unknown entity. And all the survivors have to do is not get killed while turning on some generators. If you play Dead by Daylight, you know how every game is different, and some matches prove to be filled with surprises, excitement, unexpected frights, and much more. Imagine a film riffing off of a simple concept like that and not overcomplicating it. Could make for a great movie. Or series. New survivors, new killers each episode. Someone get Netflix on the phone with me. Seriously though, I would actually love that. And at number 5, PT. PT, aka Playable Teaser, is often considered to be one of the best horror games ever created, and one of the most difficult to get your hands on these days since it was taken down from the PlayStation Store, with Konami canceling the game. Developed by Kojima Productions and directed by both Hideo Kojima himself and film legend Guillermo del Toro, PT was an interactive teaser for the next Silent Hill game prior to its cancellation. Essentially, you wake up in a suburban house and walk down its L-shaped corridor, which then loops. You must investigate the paranormal events occurring and solve puzzles in order to progress, which changes things in that looping corridor. You also have no means of defense. Considering it's from the minds of Kojima and del Toro, if PT was ever adapted into a full-blown story, or, its intended story turned into a screenplay, it would be without a doubt an absolutely terrifying film. And at 4, Fear. Fear, aka First Encounter Assault Recon, is a horror survival first-person shooter that came back in 2005. It revolves around a supernatural phenomenon, an experimental unit of telepathically controlled clone super soldiers that the Fear team is called in to try to contain in the year 2025. You play as the point man of the team, and as you progress you begin to uncover secrets that pertain to the experimental unit and your own past. It's a game that's been called thrilling and involving by critics, and additional media has already been created for it, including a live-action short film prequel and a comic book. All in all, it's a story that's got some serious chops and can make for one hell of a terrifying yet compelling film. In at 3, Until Dawn. Until Dawn follows the story of 8 teenagers who return to a cabin in the woods in western Canada after the disappearance of 2 of their friends, twin sisters, 1 year prior. The gameplay alternates between the characters, with each decision you make affecting the outcome of the game and who lives and who dies. At first, it seems as if the teens are soon to be victims of a mysterious killer, but as the story unfolds, a more sinister paranormal threat rises, and they almost survive until dawn, when help arrives to get them out of those dark and mysterious mountains. The developers of the game have since been slated to work on a new horror anthology series starting with the game Man of Medan. The narrative, while a little linear for a game that boasts itself on its butterfly effect plot points, would be perfectly suitable for a film or a limited series. Just get yourself a pretty CW Riverdale-esque attractive cast and bam! We've got a blockbuster here. And at number 2, Dead Space. Space is scary as f, and that makes it the perfect setting for a horror survival game. Or a horror movie. Enter Dead Space, a game in which you play as an engineer named Isaac Clarke on board an interstellar mining ship, fighting off creatures called necromorphs, reanimated human corpses of slaughtered crew members. Set in the year 2508, you must venture around the ship and make various repairs in order to keep you and the remaining survivors alive long enough to be rescued. It also has a stellar soundtrack, and the sound design is amazing, both of which won multiple awards. So you can imagine a film that follows Isaac's journey, kind of like a modern day version of Alien. Considering the design team of the game spent hours analyzing various horror films for inspiration, it's a title that could fit right in with some of the best sci-fi horror classics if made correctly. And finally, in at number 1, Outlast. Outlast's concept is simply that: to outlast and ultimately survive. With 2 main titles in the series so far, the Outlast games have managed to not only scare the out of us, but have us craving more. And if there were ever to be a film adaptation, the game's narratives leave a lot open to really get creative cinematically. Let's look at the first Outlast for example. You play as a freelance investigative journalist named Miles, who's exploring a remote psychiatric hospital called Mount Massive Asylum in the mountains of Colorado that is notoriously unethical towards its patients. After you get inside, it becomes clear that something is seriously wrong, and all the patients and deranged inmates are roaming freely on the grounds, with many threatening to kill Miles. Armed with only a video camera, the game is a stealth horror survival with a fairly decent storyline that could be shaped up into a really strong horror feature film. And don't even get us started on the second one. Alright, there we have it friends. What other horror games do you think would make great films or television series? Give us a shout in those comments below and let us know your thoughts. If you dug this video, spread the love, hit those like and subscribe buttons, and be sure to check out the nifty little playlist currently flashing on your screen for more great gaming lists just like this one. In the meantime though, thanks for watching friends. I'll catch you all in the next video.